Ladies and gentlemen, stop what you are doing. Put down the phone, silence the notifications, and pay attention because something happened on a hard court in Washington, D.C. that is going to be talked about in Manila, in Melbourne, in Paris, and in New York for years to come. The tennis world just tilted on its axis. A 20-year-old from the Philippines walked onto a WTA 500 semifinal stage, stared across the net at a four-time Grand Slam champion and former world #1, and calmly, methodically, ruthlessly took her apart. Alexandra Eala did not just win a tennis match. She did not just advance to a final. She rewrote the ceiling of what Filipino tennis is supposed to look like, and she did it in straight sets against Naomi Osaka. 6-4, 6-2. Read that score again. Let it settle in your chest. This is the kind of result that separates promising careers from historic ones. This is the moment where a prospect becomes a player. And if you have been paying attention to Eala's trajectory over the last 12 months, you knew a night like this was coming, but even the biggest believers in her camp did not expect the performance to look like this. This wasn't a scrappy upset. This wasn't a Grand Slam champion having an off night while a hungry underdog scrambled and scraped her way to a lucky win. No, this was a clinical, disciplined, tactically pristine dismantling. And once we walk through the numbers together, once we lay out the sequences, you are going to understand exactly why this match matters far beyond a single line on a draw sheet. Let's set the stage properly. Just 24 hours before this semifinal, Eala had ground her way through a brutal quarterfinal against Elena Svitolina. That match was a war of attrition, 135 total points played, and Eala escaped with the narrowest of margins, winning by just 4 points, 71-64. Anyone who watched that quarterfinal would have told you Eala looked tired, tested, and lucky to still be standing. So the assumption heading into the Osaka match was simple. An emotionally drained young player, coming off a physical grinder, walking into the buzzsaw of one of the most decorated hard-court players of the modern era. That was the narrative. That was the setup. And Eala looked at that narrative, and she burned it to the ground. Because here is what actually happened. Across 106 total points contested in this semifinal, Eala won 62 of them. Osaka won 44. That is not a competitive scoreline. That is a domination scoreline. Compare that to the 4-point margin against Svitolina, and you begin to understand the transformation. Something clicked. Something locked in. This was the most complete, most authoritative performance Eala has produced all week, arguably the most complete performance of her entire professional career to date. And it did not happen by accident. The match started the way you would expect two nervous players to start a WTA 500 semifinal. Trading breaks, feeling each other out, 4 games in, and it's 2-all. Standard opening act. But from that moment on, from 2-all in the first set, the personality of the match changed entirely. Eala went to work from the baseline, and Osaka simply could not find an answer. Whatever Osaka tried, whether it was a booming service ace or a rare clean winner off the ground, none of it built into momentum. Because Eala had a plan, and she executed that plan with the precision of a player twice her age. The tactical blueprint was beautiful. Eala mixed her patterns constantly. She refused to give Osaka a rhythm ball. She varied depth, varied direction, and repeatedly pulled Osaka wide before flipping the ball down the line to open the court on the other side. She made Osaka run. She made Osaka guess. She made Osaka uncomfortable. And when you make a big hitter like Naomi Osaka uncomfortable, the errors start piling up. That is exactly what happened. The Osaka unforced error count climbed and climbed and climbed, not because Osaka was hitting bad shots, but because Eala was forcing bad shots. There is a difference. And that difference is the entire ball game. Now let's talk about the pivotal moment, because every great match has one, and this one is a textbook. 3-4 in the first set, Eala serving. Watch this sequence, because this is the passage of play where the entire match tipped over. Eala held her own serve to love. 4 crisp first serves, 4 points, done. Then she stepped up to return at 4-all and immediately raced to love 40 on Osa's serve. 3 break points right there. Osaka, being a champion, being a former world #1, dug in and saved all 3 with big serves of her own. Deuce. This is the moment where inexperienced players collapse. This is the moment where the nerves take over and the opportunity slips away. Eala did not blink. She stayed patient, she stayed aggressive, she kept the pressure on, and on the 4th break point of the game, she converted. 5-4. Then she served out the set to love. 6-4. 7 consecutive points at the most critical juncture of the match. That is not luck. That is not adrenaline. That is composure. And the serve, my goodness, the serve. This is where the story gets almost unbelievable. Eala's first serve placement was surgical. She was pulling Osaka wide on the ad court, jamming her with body serves, mixing directions constantly, giving Osaka nothing to anchor on. But here is the statistic that should stop you in your tracks. Eala won a higher percentage of points on her second serve than on her first serve. Let me repeat that because it is genuinely astonishing at this level of professional tennis. 71% of first serve points won. 79% of second serve points won. That does not happen. That is a statistical unicorn. That means every time Eala missed a first serve, Osaka should have had a genuine opportunity to attack the second. And instead, Osaka got dismantled even more efficiently. 35 out of 47 total serve points won across the match, 1 break of conceded across 2 full sets. 1. And because Eala served with that kind of authority, Osaka barely got a look at breakpoint opportunities. 4 breakpoint chances the entire match. And here is the wildest part. All 4 of those chances came in a single game, back at 2-1 in the first set. After that game, Osaka did not sniff another breakpoint for the rest of the afternoon. That is what pressure looks like when it is applied correctly. That is what taking away someone's oxygen looks like. By the middle of the second set, the body language told the whole story. Osaka was looking over at her coaching box with that expression, the one every tennis fan recognizes. Confusion, frustration, disbelief. She was being outmaneuvered, and she knew it. Eala had broken her in the very first game of the second set, and the momentum was now a runaway freight train. Count them! From 3-4 down in the first set, Eala won 5 consecutive games. 5, she went from trailing in set 1 to leading 6-4, 2-love in set 2, without giving Osaka a single game in that stretch. That is not a hot streak. That is a takeover. To Osaka's enormous credit, she made one last stand. In the 5th game of the second set, serving at 1-3, she saved 4 break points until to pull it back to 2-3. That was the champion in her refusing to go quietly. But it turned out to be a final flicker before the lights went out. Eala tightened up again immediately, dialed up the concentration, and across the final 3 games of the match, she surrendered just 4 total points. 6-4, 6-2, handshake at the net. History written. Now let's put the full statistical picture on the table. Because when you see it laid out, the story becomes undeniable. Winners versus unforced errors. Eala, 17 winners, 18 unforced errors, a differential of -1, almost perfectly balanced. Osaka, 17 winners, 34 unforced errors, a differential of -17. 18 more unforced errors on the Osaka side of the ledger. 18. That is not a tennis match. That is the direct consequence of one player relentlessly pressing the other, corner to corner, line to line, until the strings started making mistakes on their own. First serve percentage. Eala 60, Osaka 54. Double faults. Eala 1, Osaka 5. Break points converted. Eala 4 for her chances. Osaka 1. Second serve return points. Eala won 52% of the points behind Osaka's second serve. Osaka won only 21% behind Eala's second serve. The only meaningful positive number on Osaka's stat sheet was 5 aces. 5 aces. That is the entire silver lining. And by the time the 2 players met at the net, those aces meant absolutely nothing. Consider the context here because it matters. Osaka entered this week ranked world number 13. She was coming off a genuinely enormous run at Wimbledon, where she took down the world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka in the 4th round. This was not a version of Naomi Osaka that was cold or out of shape. This was Naomi Osaka playing some of her best tennis in years, riding real momentum in the middle of a genuine comeback narrative. And Alexandra Eala made her look ordinary. That is why this ranks as comfortably one of the finest wins of Eala's career so far in 2026. And now the rankings math, because this is where the reward becomes tangible. By reaching the final, Eala banks 325 ranking points, and that lifts her to a new career-high position of world number 24, sitting on a total of 1,931 points. Career high, top 25, a Filipino player in the top 25 of women's professional tennis. Say that sentence again slowly. Understand what that means for a country that has spent decades on the outside of the tennis conversation looking in. But the job is not done. Not yet. Because tomorrow Eala walks back onto that court for a WTA 500 title, and waiting for her on the other side of the net is Jessica Pegula, the top seed, the world number 3, the final boss of this tournament. If Eala can produce one more performance, one more upset, one more masterclass, she does not just lift a trophy. She earns 2,216 total ranking points and rockets straight into the world's top 20 at number 20. From career high to career altering in the span of 48 hours. Now, is beating the world number 3 a realistic ask? Look at what we just watched. Look at the serve numbers. Look at the composure at 3-4 in the first set. Look at the tactical variety, the shot selection, the mental toughness in front of a hostile point count. If Eala can produce that version of herself again tomorrow, then yes, absolutely, 100% beating Jessica Pegula is on the table. Pegula is a phenomenal player, a top 5 stalwart, and a nightmare matchup for anyone. But so was Osaka, and Osaka just got dismantled. This is the moment. This is the swing. This is the sliding doors instant where a career either steps through into stardom or gets caught on the frame and stays where it was. Everything Eala has built, every hour on the practice court, every early round exit that stung, every long flight and every unfamiliar hotel room, all of it is funneled into this one weekend in Washington, D.C. And she is not just showing up, she is announcing herself. The Philippines has a tennis player, not hopeful, not a project, a player. A top 25, semifinal slaying, straight sets over a Grand Slam champion player. And by this time tomorrow, that description might need another upgrade. So circle the time, set the reminders, tell your friends who don't even watch tennis. Because whether Eala lifts that trophy or not, whether she cracks the top 20 or settles for a career high 24, we have just witnessed the biggest breakthrough performance in Philippine tennis's history. And breakthroughs like this do not slow down. They accelerate. The final is coming. The story is not finished. And if Alexandra Eala plays anywhere close to the level she produced against Naomi Osaka, then Jessica Pegula, world number 3 or not, is going to have the fight of her tournament on her hands. Fasten your seatbelts. This one is going to be special.